Okay, so I think we're on. So hello everyone, thank you for attending this webinar, which will give you an overview of performing management review according to ISO 9001-2015. My name is Pereira da Cruz and I'm an author at 𝗧𝗿𝗶𝘀𝗲. I do quite a lot of ISO 9001 consulting and training, but I also audit as lead auditor. So today I'm going to share with you my thoughts about management review. My presentation will last approximately 40 minutes, after which we'll have a, 20-minute question and answer session. So if you have a question, you don't have to wait for the Q&A session. You can ask it during my presentation. Of course, I'll also answer all of your remaining questions during the Q&A session. We will later send you an email with a link to the recording of this webinar and to the list of articles mentioned. Okay, so a good management review ensures strategic alignment, continual improvement, compliance, and resources adequacy, okay, driving QMS effectiveness and business success. This webinar highlights how an effective management review contributes to top management and to the overall success of a quality management system. So this webinar is specifically designed to top management, quality managers and professionals responsible for ISO 9001 management review. Now, let's see the agenda for today. So today we'll discuss the following topics. So first, we will give an overview of management review and its purpose. There are a lot of myths about management review. That will be our next topic. Then we will discuss management review as a process, not just a meeting. Okay, it's much more than a meeting. Afterwards, we'll look into the inputs. ISO 9001 is very prescriptive about the inputs. Then we will speak about the decisions and then move into the outputs of the management review. And finally, we'll present the main challenges of management review according to questions received by email before this webinar. Okay, so let's jump into the purpose. Okay, so I like this metaphor. Okay, so the Romans had a god named Janus, from whom the name January for the first month of the year, the month of the transition. Okay, so January comes from Janus, the first month of the year, the name comes from there. Janus was the god of bridges, of gates, of transitions, often depicted with a head with two faces. Okay, and I encourage organizations to see management review as a kind of a symbolic bridge connecting the past, present, and the future. So today we assess both our current context, okay, what is happening right now, and the gap between our actual and desired performance. To understand how we arrived at this point, we reflect on our past decisions and the performance challenges we set for ourselves. So those decisions made in the past were based on the knowledge available at that time. So by examining the differences between the past and today, we aim to extract lessons that will assist us in making better decisions for the future. Okay, so now, what is the purpose of a management review? So let's begin with the end in mind. So if you read ISO 9001, it says that management review, about management review outputs, it starts with something like, the outputs of the management review should include conclusions on the continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the quality management system. So look into the past. What can your organization learn from last year? So do you have an effective QMS? So does your QMS achieve its objectives? Do you have an adequate QMS? So does your QMS have all the necessary elements to function correctly? Do you have a suitable QMS? So does your QMS still fits the organization's needs? Now, let me focus this personal reflection. So ISO 9001, so this clause 9.3, focuses too much on the past. And then that the management system becomes, let's say, lame because it does not focus enough on the future. Okay, and the quality objectives seem disconnected from the management review. You almost see no reference to quality objectives in the management review text. Okay, so of course, we need to look and sculpt the past. Yes, but the past is dead and buried. Okay, we do this to learn how to make better decisions for the future. We need more focus on the future. Okay, so Maya asked, how should the organization set up criteria for the evaluation of the effectiveness of the management system? Okay, so first, what is a management system? So a system, a management system is a system, a set of interrelated or interactive processes, a system to establish a policy. What is a policy? Is a general orientation. Well, that general orientation is blah, 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 just words, okay? So we need to translate those words, that general orientation, the policy, into smart objectives and work to achieve those objectives. So an effective management system is a system that achieves its objectives aligned with the policy. Now, normally, those objectives are the quality objectives. Well, some organizations consider both the quality objectives and some KPIs from some critical processes and indicators related with customer satisfaction. By the way, you cannot say that the management system is effective if it doesn't meet most of the quality objectives. To me, it's the equivalent to, the Titanic, so that movie Titanic, where the ship is sinking and the musicians keep playing. No, we have a very honest management system because we comply with all the procedures. But okay, but the point is not just complying with the procedures. The point is achieving the quality objectives. Okay, so purpose. Now, let's see some myths around management review. So there are many different misperceptions about management review, such as there must be one annual management review. So, well, in a typical organization, the outcome of a management review is reviewed periodically, monthly, quarterly, or annually. An annual frequency does not provide time to correct any ineffective course of action, because if you only do once per year, when you do it, it's already too late to make decisions in useful time. Okay, now another one is management reviews should cover all requirements in one meeting. No, it's not mandatory. So this represents an enormous workload for those preparing the review, and it undermines the ability to have quality discussions, because many issues will have to be addressed in a short period of time. So, and by the way, how much time can you capture from top management's agenda for the review? Okay, so we will see in one of the next slides how to distribute, when we have more than one management review per year, how to distribute the topics. Okay. Now, another myth is about all senior management should be present at the annual meeting. Well, should all senior management be present at the review? So for large organizations, it's unlikely that all senior managers will be present at these meetings. Okay. However, the information should be made available for comments and decision making when appropriate. Okay. Now, another one is management review should follow the ISO standard requirement sequence. For example, subsections 9.3a through F. My answer to this is, come on, seriously? No. So we can follow the sequence that best suits each organization. Okay. And we can add topics not included in the standard. All right. So I want to leave here a link to links to two articles that you can read later. One article is ISO 9001, why it should be viewed as a business management system. And the other one is, to what extent should top management be involved in your QMS? By the way, later I will mention again the link to this article, but okay, you already have it here. Okay, now we have here a question, an interesting question. 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀 asked how to gain management awareness of the importance of management review. They support everything, but when it comes to management reviews, they seem to be hesitant, as if it takes their time only. Well, yeah. So thank you, 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀, for this question. So it will help me stress throughout the webinar the importance and the difference between what needs reporting and what requires decision. Okay. So management review is not an audit formality or a compliance ritual focused on the past. Well, seeing the world through, like seeing the world through a car rear view mirror, right? It should be much more than just looking into the past. It's a strategic meeting to steer the organization. Okay, so if leadership thinks it's a waste of time, oh, I'm going there, they will be presenting reports about what happened last year. So only that, like a kind of an autopsy. No. The key is to frame the management review as a decision-making tool, not a reporting session, okay? So show how it connects directly to business risk, to customer satisfaction, to improvement opportunities, and profitability. When management sees that it's about making informed decisions on performance and priorities, not just ticking ISO boxes, they'll stop seeing it as a burden and start treating it as a value-adding leadership activity. Okay? So from the myths, let's now see when we decide to have more than one management review per year. Okay, so schedule and distribute topics throughout the year. So in order to avoid a situation that condemns us to failure, so why do I say this? Because it's when we try to do a management review where we try to do everything in a compressed in a very short period of time. So we can schedule the management review in, for example, 4 moments throughout the year that coincide with each quarter. Okay, and we distribute the various topics for each moment. So we align the QMS management cycle with the financial management cycle of the business. So if you don't do this, it's like this. You may have make fantastic decisions, but there will be no money to implement them. Okay. Now, some topics are reviewed at every meeting, others every 6 months, and others annually. Okay. So this is an option. Okay, this example is generic. Okay, here it does not mean that this distribution is the best or the most suitable for your organization. Okay. Now, Pauline asked about the inputs for a quarterly management review. Which set of inputs will be reviewed at every management review meeting? There is awareness that all inputs are to be discussed annually. However, which one should be addressed every quarter? Okay, so ISO 9001, clause 9.3.2 lists the inputs that must be considered at planned intervals, often annually. Okay, but the planned intervals for quarterly reviews. So if you want to do quarterly reviews, you should prioritize inputs that are dynamic, time sensitive, or performance driven. So you can use something like this. Think about volatility. So does it change the topic? Does it change frequently or unpredictably? So like customer complaints or process KPIs or supplier issues. Another question that you may ask is it impactful? So Does it affect performance, delivery, or compliance right now? So things like non-conformities, risks, corrective actions. Is it actionable? Okay, can you make timely decisions or improvements from the data? So things like KPI trends, feedback analysis, audit findings. So if your answer is yes to 2 or more, it's better to review quarterly, okay? If you say no to all, well, it's better to review annually, okay? If it is less than 2, okay, you need to evaluate. You can evaluate it every 6 months, okay? So it's a possibility. How can you justify the frequency of the topics being analyzed, okay? So we have a question here. Carlos is asking, normally management is only interested in reviewing KPIs, but reviewing the other elements required by the standard seems boring to them, and they only do it to comply with the standard. So they don't give their opinion or make decisions on how to change this. Okay. Okay. Carlos, we will go back to this later, okay? When we show the difference between the agenda and the report, okay? So now let's go here to the management review process. So a management review is not a meeting. It's much more than a meeting. People normally think that, oh, it's just a meeting. No, it's a process, okay? It's a whole process. So in a management review process, one can identify 4 stages, okay? You have the preparation, you have before the meeting, you have during the meeting, and after the meeting or follow-up. So let's see the preparation. So at planned intervals, the organization must consider several inputs of information and data to evaluate the performance and the effectiveness of the QMS. Planned intervals mean that the time between the management review should be determined in advance, so annual, quarterly, or monthly reviews. The plan can be changed to reflect circumstances, but should always be looking forward. So this way, top management can make relevant performance comparisons. Okay, we are comparing apples with apples. Okay, now just be careful. Conducting very frequent management reviews can cause you to focus too much on details and lose sight of the big picture. And that's important to see also the big picture. Okay. Now, inputs are related to requirements from several clauses of ISO 9001, including the status of actions identified during previous management reviews. The input should be used to sense the situation. Okay, they should be analyzed. So we start with data, okay, raw data, and then we need to analyze. Analyze means we sort, classify, summarize, calculate, correlate, present, chart, or otherwise translate the original data into meaningful information for those that will evaluate. Okay, analysis, and then comes evaluation. Now, this is the preparation. Now, before the meeting, if you think about meeting time is very expensive, okay, and very scarce, because top management, they don't want to be there forever, okay. So meeting time is too expensive and scarce, and should be used wisely. So use it for discussions and making decisions, not for long presentations. So after preparation and before the meeting, an agenda should be prepared and sent to participants together with the input information. Okay, participants should study the information before the meeting, and this is very important. Participant should study the information before the meeting. If we do that, now during the meeting, there's no presentations, or time for presentations is very, very short. So the management review meeting, so the gathering of top management, should occur after reviewing input data. And for what? To discuss results, to make conclusions, to synthesize and decide a course of action. Okay. Now, After this, we have the after the meeting or follow-up. So develop and approve action plans to implement decisions. Okay. The organization should keep records. Without records, organizations have no memory. So without memory, organizations can't learn. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Now, Sabina asked, what is the best format for conducting management reviews? For example, should this be in the format of a meeting, or perhaps in other ways should be more effective? So I think the preferred format is a structured, decision-oriented meeting. Okay. Why? Because ISO 9001 expects inputs to be reviewed and discussions to be made. This is best achieved through live discussions, cross-functional input, and documented decisions. But that's my opinion, okay? Some alternative format may be distributed reviews, so input collected asynchronously or synchronously, and the decision meeting later. Works in large or multi-site organizations. Or you may have digital dashboards with live commentary, so effective for highly mature data-driven teams. So like, for example, Advisera, okay? Hybrid, like a written report and a short meeting, so to balances efficiency with leadership engagement. So I prefer the meetings, okay? But now, by the way, unfortunately, I see too many organizations trying to do all this, okay, the analysis, the evaluation, the conclusion, and plan actions during the meeting. It will not work well, okay? It will not work well, okay? So, now, so by the way, I put this is not in the this is not in the PDF that you have, but okay, one thing is the inputs. ISO 9001 mentioned the inputs. We have the outputs. ISO 9001 mentions the outputs, and we have the outcomes. That's why we do this check progress, check results, okay? Because outputs is something that we can go and tick, done, done, done. But the outcomes, it's truly what we want, okay? What is the result, the implications, the consequences of our decisions, okay? Good decisions? Let's see. Now, let's go to to see here something more about, where is my cursor? Where is? Okay, it's here. So, yeah. Now, each meeting with 4 moments, we already spoke about that. So the outputs of preparation are an agenda for the meeting and the information about the topics already analyzed, so the report. Okay. Now, before the meeting, the evaluation of inputs. Then we have the meeting to discuss, to make conclusions and decisions. And the output of the meeting is the management review meeting minutes. Okay. Now, during the follow-up, decisions must be translated into action plans or studies that hopefully, we hope that, will be translated into action. We want to, so that's, okay, the big picture. So I leave here a link to an article called How to Make Management Review More Useful in the QMS. Okay. Just one note, and about what the question from Carlos. So consider the term consideration. The standard mentions consideration. The term consideration refers to reviewing, analyzing, and evaluating specific inputs during a management review process. So to do what? To determine the relevance, impact, and necessary actions for the QMS. So according to slide 6, the one with the schedule, okay, the report must include all topics scheduled for the meeting. So in the report, you put everything that is scheduled for that meeting. And in the report, we present the information. And we can mention that there are no necessary actions or decisions for some topics, like Okay, there are no customer complaints. Everything is okay, so we don't need to 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 use time from the meeting to discuss that. Okay, so in that case, the report provides evidence of consideration of the topic, but we no time will be used in the meeting to discuss it. So we don't mention complaints in the agenda in this example. So topics that need to be discussed because actions or decisions are needed are included in the report and in the agenda. Okay. This way, the meeting is used for making decisions as a team, and no time is wasted on presentations. Okay. And by the way, Carlos, at the end, during the Q&A, I have two slides um, that answer two questions. One of the questions is from, I already see here another question from uh, 𝗫𝗲𝗀𝗶𝘀𝗲𝗿, and I also mention again this how to engage top management in this. Okay. Now let me close this. Now let's see here. Now, okay. Now we prepare the management review inputs. Okay. So focus attention on the why. Why are we having this meeting? It's a fantastic way of starting things. It's starting at the end. Why are we doing this? Okay. So learn to love the fact-based approach. Any management system review needs to be based on facts. Last March, before the last webinar on this topic, I was reading in an article or a book. I don't remember now, but I took notice. So avoid sitting around and duel in the land of ideas. Okay, avoid making important decisions based on cognitive vapor. So I like this kind of language. Gather sufficient information and data to provide a sound basis for the review. So see with top management who should participate to accomplish management review purposes. So, and seek input from attendees with first-hand direct experience. Don't just collect the data and make a tick in your management review input list. No, be demanding, be curious, and search for learning. Uh, people, I mean, we are deluded. We think we know more about the system we work in than we actually do. So do more than just collect raw data. For example, consider the internal audit results. Instead of presenting detailed audit findings, summarize the key points for top management. So, for example, total number of audits conducted, completion status of the audit program, number of nonconformities identified, categorized as major or minor, status of non-conforming resolution, so are they closed or pending, and why, identification of any significant trends or recurring issues, recommendations for future actions, such as the need for increased investment or decreased investment in the internal audit process. So this approach provides a comprehensive overview, enabling top management to understand the overall picture, the overall health of the QMS, and make informed strategic decisions without needing in-depth audit expertise. Okay, the management review meeting is not the place for detailed problem solving, but for evaluating trends, risks, and opportunities, so leading to strategic responses and actions. So information should be analyzed beforehand so that management can focus on making decisions, not diagnosing issues. Okay, so it's not for technical decisions or technical presentations or technical discussions. It's management discussions. So when preparing for a management review under ISO 9001, it's essential to use the standard, of course, as a guide to ensure no prescribed inputs are overlooked. And remember, don't use quality jargon. Okay, use language, use examples that top management can relate to, like money, for example. Okay, now you can find all the necessary documents in our ISO 9001 Premium Toolkit let me show you how it looks like. So let me show you here. So this is the list of all the articles, so all the documents, procedures, forms, guidelines that we have in the toolkit. So we have what, about 76 different documents, and I will show you this too. Okay, the procedure for measuring customer satisfaction and the procedure for management review. So procedure for management review. So this is a Word document, completely customizable. So you can customize this. So you have here information regarding what can be some articles that can help you understand or improve or customize the document. So what we have here, so for example, the different management review methods that you can use, about the objective, the purpose, here, what is suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness, the list of review inputs, and you can customize here. You can put here who is responsible for presenting this information, so changes the affect the quality system. And we have here information regarding the outputs, and that's it. Okay, so completely customized. You don't need to start from zero. You don't need to invent the wheel. Another one is about the example that I use is the procedure for measuring customer satisfaction. So we have here what you have for this kind of procedures. You have the flow chart, okay, identification of customer expectations, choosing characteristics that refer to customer satisfaction. So what are you going to evaluate? What method for gathering data about customer satisfaction? Choosing a scale and method of survey, the questionnaire, and then, okay, analyzing data about the customer satisfaction, and then the reporting and communication, making decisions, using this for making decisions. Sometimes I see organizations that, okay, they tick the list, done. We send the survey, we receive, but then no one does nothing with the report. Okay, yes, they make the report because they want to show to the auditors, but okay, now decisions. And when they say, oh, everything is okay, we don't need to make any decision. What? Your organization is perfect? Oh, fantastic! It's the first time that I see a perfect organization. So when the conclusion is we don't need to do nothing, we are okay. I say to them, it's something like it's a lost opportunity, okay? Because we are not perfect, and we want to use the possibility of seeing the world with the shoes of the customer, because the customer looks into the world from a different viewpoint than us in the company. Yeah. So okay, so you can see the details of the toolkit here. So I leave here the link for the toolkit. Now let's go back here and let's go to the preparation. Okay, so let's see an example of preparing the inputs. You see here, so the quality manager gathers the necessary inputs for the management review by collecting and analyzing data on customer complaints from the past 6 months. So the data shows 35 complaints, a 75% increase from the previous period. Whoa, this is a significant and concerning trend. And customer satisfaction score dropped from 85% to 72%. So this highlights the importance of review frequency. Okay, so while individual complaints are typically addressed and customers retained, so we answer to each individual complaint, who is looking into the big picture? Okay, who is spotting the trend beyond isolated incidents? Critical patterns may go unnoticed without timely reviews, delaying necessary corrective actions. So main complaint categories, so in this example will be, so we have this one, so late deliveries, defective products, incorrect invoices, and other 10%. So, and for this particular case of defective products, Okay. We have what? We have the root cause analysis of defects. So 60% to machine calibration issues, 25% related to human errors in assembly, 15 due to raw material inconsistencies. Okay, so this information is prepared in advance before the management review meeting, sent to participants in the report. Okay, and they will look into this. What comes next? So we prepare the report and we prepare the agenda. Let's see the agenda. Okay, so prepare a management review agenda where we communicate the date and venue. We communicate who will attend, list the agenda items and an estimation of the amount of time needed for each item. Present agenda items as questions that must be answered. So it has several advantages. Okay, it focuses the discussion, it encourages engagement and problem solving. So questions invite active participation, making the meeting more of a collaborative problem solving session rather than a passive, report sharing session or event. See that you look into customer feedback. Complaints are up and satisfaction are down. How to revert the situation? This is the big message that people receive before the meeting when they look into the agenda. Now, if you just put there the topic, see the difference. Customer feedback. Okay, customer feedback. The fog. Okay. Okay. So person 3 is going to present something about the customer feedback. Okay, good for him or for her. Yeah, but so instead of just listening to updates, I think these come prepared to contribute with solutions. So it defines clear outcomes. It reduces unnecessary or unproductive topics, because when drafting the agenda, framing topics as questions forces organizers to think, is this really an issue that needs discussion or just an update that could be shared in the report? So this avoids wasting time on topics that don't require debate or decision making. Okay, I know some managers like to present everything is okay, and they want to present because they want to, show off. Yeah, we're good. We are the best. Okay, but time is too precious to present information that can be reviewed before. Okay, and this implies that the agenda and the information should be sent well before the management review. Okay, now identify where people can go and search the information. Okay, the details. Identify who is responsible for leading each item. Okay, now we have here several questions about the same topic. Sunil asked, what category of employees should attend the management review meeting other than the top management? Joshi asked, can HSE committee members, supervisors, departmental heads of departments attend management review meeting? Mohammed asked, who is supposed to attend the management review? And one last question about this topic, Julieta asked, is administrative manager part of the management review meeting? Now, first, the general answer. I think this can be translated into one general question. Who should attend the management review meeting besides top management? So the management review should be attended by people who can provide meaningful input on the organization's performance and who are accountable for key processes. So this often includes process owners and department heads, like production, quality, human resources, IT. So representatives of functions linked to customer satisfaction, risk, or compliance, and people who can present data or follow up on actions, like supervisors or system managers. So attendance should be tailored to the agenda. The key is to include participants who contribute to analysis, decision making, and implementation, not just those who are available, And by the way, in some companies, because of what Mohammed, not Mohammed, because of what Joshi asked. But in some companies, I would like to include the HSE members. So, for example, some pharma companies with process industries, yeah, HSE performance can affect process stability. So, accident-related downtime, for example. So, it's important to have that people there in that kind of organizations. Or in some companies, I would like to include the administrative manager because of what Julieta was asking, because the administrative manager can speak to staffing, infrastructure, office support systems, and resource availability. So sometimes they have a kind of they are good connectors and good communicators or relevant for the internal communication. So yeah, but it's like there's no general answer to this. It's that answer that provides a bad name to consultants. It depends. Okay. Now let's see what more we have here. So now perform review and make decisions. Oh, I'm late. I need to go. So management review is not just a meeting. It's a whole process performed to assess and evaluate the performance of a management system. So the management review process starts with the gathering and analysis of the data, okay, that is sent to top management. Then comes the management review meeting. So to review the input data, to discuss the results, to make conclusions, and to decide on a course of action. So most of the effort is devoted to documentation. So the inputs for the review and the depth of the conversation and the quality of decisions are often lacking. Okay, we need much more than just documentation. So I know that when you start, you want a perfect management review. Okay, you want the 10, but before the 10, okay, we need to start with the 1, the 2, and 3. So start with focus on one topic. So I remember as quality manager sending memos to my plant manager showing how our quality was poor. So we were manufacturing a polymer, polyvinyl chloride, white powder, and even the powder that we took from the ground could be we could sell that as a off grade. Okay, so everything was for sale. And when I said to my site manager that our quality was not good, he went to the warehouse and he saw the warehouse empty, and he was thinking something like, oh, Carlos is always exaggerating. It's 20 something years, so his blood is too hot. He's too young and needs to be more reasonable. One day what I did is I translated my language, my quality language, into his language. And the result was incredible, because instead of defects, I calculated what we lost in money terms, because we had to sell at a lower price because it was not top quality. So instead of top grade, we had to sell it at grade 2 or grade 3 or off grade. His words were something like, you never told me this before. And in my mind, my eyes were something like, oh. So saying, come on, I was thinking, come on, I told you this many times before, but yeah. And we quality people, we need to make this translation. It is our responsibility. So try to translate what you think are problems into top management language. So how to motivate employees and mainly leadership to actively participate in these meetings? Attention, Carlos. Highlight the value and impact. Connect QMS to business goals. Illustrate how quality management drives efficiency, lowers cost, increases customer satisfaction, and boosts profitability. Okay? Show the benefits and the pain. Make meetings efficient and relevant. Avoid boring presentations. Invite people to study before the meeting and use the meeting to make decisions. Focus on decision making. Ensure meeting results in actionable decisions, not just reports. And respect the meeting time. Demonstrate that your meetings are not black holes consuming valuable time. It's 90-minute meeting, it's 90 minutes. Even if we could not speak about all the topics, but it's 90 minutes. So in the future, when they come to our meeting, to our management review meeting, they know that it's not a black hole. It's 90 minutes, 90 minutes. It's not, yeah. And if leadership views QMS as a priority, others will follow, okay? Others will follow. Now, let's see the example. Back to the previous example about the defects behind the complaint jump. So the leadership team and process owners discuss the findings in the management review meeting and make decisions. Okay, so implement stricter calibration controls, adjust machine maintenance schedules to prevent calibration issues, enhance employee training in assembly. And okay, now prepare the management review outputs and follow-up. So final conclusion of the management review, a documentation. So documentation. So include the conclusion statement. The conclusion should summarize the findings and discussions of the management review meeting. It should indicate whether the QMS remains suitable, adequate, and effective. So use meeting minutes, formal reports, or summary documents to record the conclusion. Sign off and approval, so obtain signatures and approvals from relevant management personnel to endorse the final conclusion documentation. And then we have the follow-up actions after management review. So develop detailed action plans for addressing identified improvement areas or necessary changes to enhance the QMS. So allocate resources, assign responsibilities for each action item to specific individuals or departments. Set clear timelines and deadlines for completing action items, and regularly monitor progress on action items and review their implementation status in subsequent management review meetings. I leave here a link to an article called How to Make Management Review More Practical. And we have here a question from Leonor. Leonor asked, does top management have to sign off meeting minutes after the meeting takes place? Well, ISO 9001 does not explicitly require top management to sign off the management review meeting minutes. However, it's a good practice, okay? It's a good practice because confirms accountability, confirms the top management has reviewed and acknowledged the outcomes and decisions. It's a good evidence for auditors, provide a clear proof that top management is involved and committed. It's a way of validating decisions. It's a way of so formalize actions, responsibilities, and strategic directions agreed upon. So it's best to do that. Okay. Please check this article again. This is a repetition from the first slide. So to what extent should top management be involved in your QMS? Okay. We want to avoid. So sometimes I'm auditing an organization, and I'm auditing the top management and say, okay, what about your management review? And the top manager, the owner of the company, or the CEO, or the member of the top management team that is responsible for the QMS says something like, points to the QMS manager and says, oh, Maria, you can answer that. No, I want you to answer. It's you. I want to see your commitment, or I want to see if you know. I don't say this exactly, but it's in my mind. I want to see if you are committed. No, or you outsourced your QMS to the quality manager, and you don't know nothing about what happens. No, yeah, okay. So follow up, an example. Back to our example. The management review outputs include assigned actions, responsibilities, and deadlines. Remember, the management review is not the right place to decide what stricter calibration controls to implement, okay? Or what changes in employee training and awareness. Is the place to decide what needs to be done. During the follow-up, technical people will decide the details of the how, okay? Now, crimes against management review effectiveness. Oh, I'm really late. Now, let's talk about what not to do. Okay, so avoid conducting avoid a compliance-only mindset. Okay, some teams just do it just to say they've done it. There's no intention of using the review to actually drive change or improvement, and auditors can feel it, can sense it. Yeah. Avoid this data dump without no analysis. Okay, if the meeting is spent just presenting raw data instead of reviewing insights, you've lost the room. Okay. Avoid situations where there's no clear responsibility. So if no one owns the actions coming out of the review, they won't be done. Okay, it's that simple. Top management disengagement. So the presence of top management isn't enough. They need to be involved in interpreting the results and making decisions. Sometimes organizations avoid hard truth. So I've seen organizations skip over bad news. So because like poor compliance, recurring nonconformities, rising complaints, because everybody wants to appear nice, that everything is okay. Okay. So encourage your team to ask, are we really using the management review to guide the system or just to report on it? Are you using your management review to guide the system, to steer your system into the future, or just to report? That question can transform your next management review. And you may not do this change for all topics, but start with one topic. Okay. Now, okay, I will pass on this very quickly. So the main challenges, so based on the emails received before this webinar, the main challenges regarding the ISO management review are the frequency of the management reviews, the agenda content, how to improve the engagement and awareness of top management, and who needs to attend, to be present. Okay. Now, to conclude, the purpose of the management review, as outlined in clause 9.3, is to evaluate the organization's quality management system. It involves top management assessing the system's suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness in achieving quality objectives. So, a sound management review is essential to identify management system improvement opportunities and act upon resource needs. So, and to help you with that, you can use �11 ISO 9001 Premium Documentation Toolkit. So here's the link with more details. I'll also send you now the meeting link to schedule a call with our toolkit expert. He'll explain you how toolkit works and show you any document you would like to see. Okay, so here's the toolkit expert meeting link. And now, very late, so let's go to the Q&A. But before the Q&A, just here's some links to our courses, okay? So you can attend these courses for free. You can see the old videos. You can do the quizzes without paying nothing. You only need to pay if you want to do the exam, if you want to get a certificate, okay? So you have here the links for our 9001 Foundations course about the standard, the Lead Implementer course about implementing a management system, the Internal Auditor course, and the Lead Auditor course, the 9001 Lead Auditor course, and a link to an article to a book that I wrote called Discover ISO 9001 2015 through practical examples. Okay, so before we begin with the Q&A session, to mention that you can also ask me anything about ISO 9001 directly. Just send me an email and I'll answer as quick as I can, okay? If you have to leave before this Q&A session is over, please fill in the short survey that will open right after you leave the webinar. So let's see. One question here from Pia. Pia asked, how to make sure efforts and capabilities are not duplicated? So ISO 9001 principles, BPM frameworks like APQC, operational excellence like EFQM, sustainability requirements. Okay, how to make sure efforts and capabilities are not duplicated? My advice is start with a common process architecture. So model your organization as a set of processes, okay? And then for each process, create a kind of a master requirement matrix where you do a cross walk table that maps clauses from 9001 UFQM criteria or sustainability frameworks against each process or management practice. So this helps to see where multiple models demand the same evidence, okay, to avoid duplication, and assign single owners for processes, not for systems, okay? And use a common KPI framework with tagged relevance, okay? Choose a neutral vocabulary, like use process, input, output, risk, stakeholder, yeah. And instead of multiple separate reviews, integrate into a single governance cycle, so quarterly or every 6 months, with shared agenda and reporting. Okay. Now we have a question here from 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗶𝘀. Difficulty to the management review in on meeting. It looks at least more than 3 meetings, mainly when I look after process performance and review the KPIs. So one management, as I understand, 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗶, you're saying that doing it in only one meeting is not enough. You need 3 meetings. Okay, that's why you may try to schedule instead of one global annual meeting, to schedule different topics throughout the year, for example, quarterly. And also, that's why it's important to consider that difference. What needs to be in the report and what needs to be in the agenda. Okay, if a topic it's okay, you don't need to include to use time of the meeting for presenting that topic. Yeah. Now another question is from 𝗤𝗲𝗀𝗃. What is the difference between a management review and an after action review? So you do the management review, and the output of that management review is a set of decisions, so a set of conclusions, a set of decisions. And what you do in a future management review is you're going to evaluate the progress. So are we following the decisions that were made in the previous management review? I think Sharjan, if this is not, if I didn't understood your question, please ask again, say it, and I will try to improve my answer. Okay. Anna asked, when making the agenda, how can we know what are the topics that should be considered for discussion and not presentation if we are not aware of the main topics that are from different departments? Okay, but someone must be responsible for the agenda. Okay. For example, a particular manager, not necessarily the quality manager, but okay, someone is responsible for the agenda, and that person needs to receive, needs to ask, needs to demand the information from the different departments, because we want people to arrive at the management review with the information studied. Okay, we don't want them they go there blank or blind. Okay, and someone will tell what is the situation, what needs to be, if we need any decision. That will take a lot of time. So someone is responsible for the agenda, and that person needs to receive the raw material for the report in advance, well in advance, because you don't want to send the report or in the agenda in the previous day, or in the management review is in after lunch and we send it in the morning. No, we need to send with some time in advance, 2, 3, 4 days. Okay. I hope, Hannah, I could help. Carlos asked, who should submit this information, the quality team or the process owners? Or it depends on the organization. Okay, it depend on the organization. but there should be someone that is responsible for the agenda, and that person will receive the information from the quality team or the process owners. When I see an organization where that information is prepared by the process owners, I'm happier, okay? Because the more we distribute this kind of tasks among the process owners, among the department heads, and not just the quality manager or the quality team. And it's, for me, it's a good sign, okay? It's a good sign. We want to distribute the workload for and to make the system more. We want people to be more involved. Okay. Now, Jason asked, what if 90% of what you're suggesting is already covered in other meetings throughout the year? So the official management review has traditionally been just a presentation because all of the decisions making is already done elsewhere. Okay, so if it's already done elsewhere, you don't need to do a meeting where you present all those 90%. You do a meeting where you just present the 10%, and you make sure that in your report you make the link to where those topics were analyzed, okay, and decisions were made. There's no problem with that. There's no problem with that. Okay, it's we want that the quality. We want to embed the quality system in the management system. We don't want the quality system to be a kind of a backpack, an extra system. No, we want to embed. If you already 90% is already being discussed, well, good, fantastic. Really, I'm not being ironic. It's really good. Just use the management review, official management review for the other 10%. Okay. Hani asked, we have monthly CEO meetings, HSE meetings, quality meetings are covering many management review inputs. Is it acceptable for ISO certification audit? So it's very similar to what Jason was saying. So as long as you can make the traceability and demonstrate that all the topics that are in clause 9.3.2, okay, were considered, and when decisions were necessary, that decisions were made, okay. And don't forget, in what meeting do you decide? It may be an annual month. One of the annual monthly CEO meetings is to get a conclusion about is the system suitable, adequate, and effective. Okay. 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀, after this webinar, I think I will manage more better. Oh, thank you. Thank you, 𝗂𝗲𝗴𝗶𝘀. Okay. Okay, Anna. So who makes the agenda? Analyze the data shared and only highlight the situation that needs decision. By this way, top management is not seeing the results of all the processes, and the top management wants everybody to discuss, present it. Okay, if that's so, it's okay. If in your organization you can do that, okay, no problem. Most of the time in organizations that I see, top management says, "Oh, you want me to invest 3 hours in your management review?" No, you can have only 60 minutes of my time. Okay, and so if we only have 60 minutes, we cannot do those presentations. All right, but you wrote, but by this way, the top management is not seeing the results of all the process. No, it's not correct, because if they look into it, if they read the report sent before the meeting, okay, every information is there. Every information, every topic is there. Okay. So and they can see if you use those traffic lights, okay, you put there the information and the traffic lights are green, you say, okay, we don't need to decide nothing. Sometimes I like to, as a consultant working with organizations, even when the traffic lights are green, because sometimes they are very green. I remember one organization where they were looking for the payments due, so money that they were expecting from customers, and the numbers were very good, and that was not usual. And so one of the topics was, what happened? What happened? Why did this happen? Yeah, Anna is saying that, okay, another comment. That's the problem. The meetings are too long and focus only on KPIs. Yeah, yeah. Now, let's see another question here that I received before this webinar. So I have here this one. So it's Alana asked, advice for new audit leads, compliance managers performing a management review for the first time. So advice for first-time management review facilitators. Okay, so let's see. Oops, here, let me see here. Okay, don't start with the standard, start with the business. So understand what matters most to top management before diving into clause 9.3. So talk to the COO, talk to the leader, site leader, okay? And what do you want to learn from this review? What decisions will you need to make in the next quarter? So this helps make the management review relevant, so and aligned with the business. Use the inputs as a checklist, not an agenda. Okay, so ISO 9001 lists required inputs. So use these lists to structure your preparation, not as the meeting agenda. So the difference between the agenda and the report. Group the inputs by theme. Okay. Prepare, don't just report. Okay, so collect data early, analyze trends. Don't present raw data, just tables of numbers. No. Highlight what needs management attention, draft recommendations ahead of the meeting. Okay, you're not just reporting, you're enabling leadership decisions. Okay. Keeping the meeting focused and strategic. Don't let the management review turn into a status update with endless slides, Keep it focused on recent opportunities, deviations from targets, where action is needed, whether the system is effective. Invite the right people. So involve process owners, key department heads, and anyone with information on KPIs, customer feedback, non-conformities, risks, and changes. Not just the quality managers. Okay, it's not just a quality managers meeting. And write clear meeting minutes. Okay, so documented outputs, decisions made, actions assigned with deadlines, opportunities for improvement identified. So a tip is use a management review template report or report template that includes a table for each required output, and follow up. That's where the value is. Don't let the management review be a once-a-year ritual. Okay, track actions, check implementation, and review them in the next management review. And management review with no follow-up is a waste of everyone's time. And I already lived that. Fantastic management review. Really, I'm not joking. It's really, really fantastic management review. Then 1 year later, they invite me. I go back to the company, and what was done? Nothing. So, wow, what a sensation. Wow, what a feeling. Okay, and the question from Cherjan. Okay, Cherjan asked, how to make the management review exciting for participants? Are there creative ways to do it professionally? Well, let's try it, okay? A management review can be made more engaging without losing professionalism, okay? Making exciting isn't about entertainment, okay? It's about making it meaningful, visual, and decisive. So focus on what matters, okay? Skip the noise. Don't just read KPIs. Highlight trends, risks, and what needs action. Keep the discussion strategic and relevant. Turn data into stories. So use dashboards, graphs, and visuals to tell the story behind the numbers. show what's working, what's at risk, and what needs escalation. Okay, assign ownership publicly, list actions with names and deadlines. People stay engaged when their name is on the screen and on the task list. Bring one client voice, so share a recent complaint, a compliment, or insight from a customer. It creates focus and a sense of urgency. Okay. Uh, Keep a sharp agenda, limit to 60, 90 minutes. Don't drown participants in every clause. Tailor the input to what drives decision making. Um, Involve cross-functional voices, so let different departments present 2-minute insights. Okay, it builds ownership and reduces monotony. Don't let them, when everything is okay, they want to be there for 15, 20 minutes. No, just 2 minutes. And always close with what changes. Okay, and with what are changing. What are we changing? Who owns it? What are the deadlines? Okay. Okay, so I think I've covered all your questions. So let's wrap up the webinar. Just a few words. So this 1-hour webinar was intended to give you an overview of management review. If you want more information, you can check our tutorials, our blogs, and our articles. You can ask me anything about ISO 9001 directly by email. You can also download this presentation deck from our website or take a look at video tutorials and documentation templates. We'll send you the email with all the necessary links. Finally, if you join this webinar through Zoom, you'll see a short survey. So I will kindly ask you to spend a minute to fill it in. Okay? The recording of this presentation will be available in a few hours. You will receive a link to the recording. But if you join the webinar through LinkedIn or YouTube, you will receive a link to the short survey now, and the link to the presentation will be posted on our event page in a few minutes. That will be all. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your questions, and I hope you enjoyed this webinar. Have a nice day.